With Survivor Series coming up this Sunday, what would Monday Night Raw do to hype up the show? Not much, to be honest. I'll explain as WGS-TV reviews Monday Night Raw for the week of November 14th, 2016. Hey, YouTube, are you ready for your hot tag? Because VR is definitely time to work.
Gentlemen, do not adjust your screen. I am in control of the horizontal and the vertical. This is Big Ram. You're watching WGS-TV, and I came all the way here just to find him. I've been looking for him since wrestle time. Please believe it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of WGS-TV right here on youtube.com/WrestleGamer. If you guys are noticing a little bit something different about the videos this week, it's due to the fact that my Logitech webcam has gone missing. And the camera on my HP laptop is utter garbage. So there will be no cam footage this week of your old pal, the Wrestle Gamer. But hey, we're still going to have a review nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen. And joining me on this review is the one, the only host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, the one, the only Rick Head. Rick, how you doing?
Well, you know, I'm doing all right. I'm going to tell you guys, you got to hear this before we get into wrestling. You know, it's November. We are less than a week away from Thanksgiving. I look out my window, and what do I see? 20 turkeys crossing my my lawn. I kid you not. And it's like looking at us like saying, ha ha, fuck you, go buy it.
With the build to Survivor Series basically non-existent except for the hype up of Goldberg and Lesnar, WWE would have to pull off a pretty good go-home show to sell it. Now, did they do that? To answer that question, let's talk about Raw. This being the Raw go-home show for Survivor Series, I kind of expected them to start the show with them hyping up the show, and lo and behold, that's exactly what they did. Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley basically doing just that, hyping up each match before making several matches for the night, which was Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens taking on Cesaro and Sheamus, Nia Jax teaming up with Alicia Fox to take on Charlotte and Sasha Banks, and the New Day teaming up to take on the rest of the Raw Men's Survivor Series team, which consisted of Chris Jericho, Braun Strowman, and Seth Rollins. So, I gotta say, Rick, Monday Night Raw off to what would be considered a typical start, but I think with this being the go-home show, it's what they needed to do.
You know, I can understand why they did it. The fact is, how they did and how it was executed, how it and all these matches ended were so blatantly obvious. You know, I was sitting there with Miss Jess, my woman, and she likes wrestling. She was sitting down watching it, and she said, "Oh, you know what? The guys, you know, the heel and the babyface teams are going to win because it's just obviously how they're setting the things up." For me, it was very, very dull and dry. The matches themselves really didn't have a lot of action. And then you have the, you know, I think the only thing I can really say is respectable is the Cruiserweight matches.
Backstage, Chris Jericho gave Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman their own scarves. The only thing I want to say is Jericho is awesome as a heel, Rick. The scarves of Jericho, try it on, man. I loved it. It's hilarious. But up next, it was Sami Zayn taking on Bo Dallas. It was an okay match, but they kind of just had Bo job out a bit for Zayn. Now, I get why they did it. They had to make Zayn look strong on the go-home show for Survivor Series in the Intercontinental Championship match with Ziggler. Remember, this was at the time Ziggler. We'll discuss that when we talk about SmackDown Live a little bit later. But to me, Rick, it was kind of expected.
Absolutely, you know, and they're gonna do it every single time when they, you know, have someone who's gonna be in a Survivor Series match against, you know, somebody who's not in the series. That person, in this case, Sami Zayn, is gonna go over. You know, even if he had fought somebody on a higher level, like let's say Rusev, he would still go over.
Yep. Brian Kendrick wanted to speak to the Cruiserweight division, which devolved rather quickly backstage, considering the problems he has with TJ Perkins, Rich Swann, and Noam Dar. But would WWE follow up with that? Well, we'll talk about that when we get to Brian Kendrick's match. Up next, it was the 6-man tag team match with New Day taking on Chris Jericho, Braun Strowman, and Seth Rollins. Rick, in your personal opinion, are the New Day's promos starting to get a little bit drawn out?
Well, you know, the fact is they keep on coming out with some new material. I can understand why some people it gets dry, and other times it's like, you know, they'll come out with some new content, and you know, I still get a chuckle at it, but I do agree, and I can see why some people would consider it a bit dry, but I'm not saying I'm ready to pull the plug yet.
Overall, I thought the match worked well for what it was. WWE really tried to make the Raw team look strong because all members of the Raw team went over in their respective matches. The finish of the match was Strowman hitting the power slam on Xavier Woods to pick up the win for his team. But again, Rick, this was WWE doing what they can to make the Raw men's team on Monday Night Raw look strong going into Survivor Series.
And again, it's the theme of the night. You know, make the Raw team look strong. And you know, I can only say, I watch the matches and I'm like, okay, please, just, you know, these 3 hours, I feel like I've lost time, with the exception of a few segments which we haven't gotten to yet.
Up next, it was Brian Kendrick taking on Sin Cara, a preview of sorts, since this Sunday it will be Sin Cara's former Lucha Dragon tag team partner and Kalisto for the Cruiserweight Championship. Was this your typical high-energy Cruiserweight match? Not by a long shot. Now, with the headbutt in the corner, Rick, it's very hard to see who was at fault for that botch, but to me, it looked like Sin Cara turned his head at the wrong time.
Oh, yes, Sid Botcher, yes. You know what? Both Kalisto and Sin Cara, who was supposed to be luchadors and came from a luchador background, these guys fuck up every single time. Now, keep in mind, there were two Sin Caras, and the new one, I believe he was Hunico, if I'm not mistaken. So
Mystico was the first one.
Yes, thank you very much. And the fact is, these guys just cannot get this shit together. There was that headbutt, and if I'm not mistaken, it was either Kalisto or whatever, where there was a spot where somebody, the wrestler was up against the chair, the stairs, and went to do a running knee, and he flips over him, completely misses, and it was blatantly obvious. I think it might have been Kalisto versus I forget who it was on SmackDown, but yeah, it was one of the spots. It was either Kalisto or Sin Cara, and it's like they missed it by a mile.
Well, the finish of this match was Kendrick locking on the captain's hook to pick up the win. One would figure that WWE would follow up with this Cruiserweight storyline, possibly for the debut of 205 Live, but all things considered, you know, don't hold your breath. Up next, it was the face-to-face confrontation between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, and it was definitely interesting to watch, considering that this was the first time that they were in the ring together in 12 years. I'm glad Paul Heyman was out there because he really helped sell the promo. Goldberg was never really keen on promos, and he really wasn't on par per se during this promo, but it kind of felt like the crowd was still really eating it up, though, even though it did look like the Goldberg chants were being piped in. Now, having Lesnar take the heel way out of the confrontation, Rick, to me was necessary to the fact that Lesnar is being put over as the heel in the angle while Goldberg is the face.
I can understand that, but the segment for me was dry. I've never liked Goldberg. Brock Lesnar, I hold a little more respect, but I use that term little. And it's, the whole segment for me was dry. You know, Goldberg's promo, he was trying too hard to talk tough, and it just wasn't working. The guy's 50 years old. And then on top of, they always do it. They always get ready to fight, and then, the heel walks away. It's the heel walk, or they tease the fight. And to me, it was obvious. You knew that the guys were going to get thrown around, but you knew they weren't going to throw punches against each other. It was just expected.
Yeah, this is basically Wrestling 101, guys. If you follow my channel, then you should know that by now. Up next, it was Charlotte and Sasha Banks taking on Alicia Fox and Nia Jax. I seem to notice that during this match, what I seem to notice was the issues between Sasha and Charlotte were more of the highlight of this match than anything. I did like Bayley on commentary putting over Survivor Series, and she did a pretty good job of doing it. The finish of the match was Sasha locking on the bank statement on Alicia Fox to pick up the win. And after the match, Bayley wanted to hug it out with both Sasha and Charlotte. Sasha was willing, but with Charlotte being the heel, of course, she would decline. But I would like to officially volunteer to take Charlotte's place for that hug, Bayley. That is, of course, Rick, if the offer is still on the table.
You know what? I'm sorry. I have to do a little bit more. I have to do the Donald Trump and grab her by the pussy.
Oh, God. Oh, speaking of that, up next it was Enzo and Big Cass teaming up with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson to take on the Golden Truth and the Shining Stars. Looking back at this one, more of the focus was on Gallows and Anderson, since they were the heels that basically said they were going to stab their partners in the back. Now, did they do that in this match per se? Not to the extent of costing them the match. What they did do is, after hitting the Magic Killer on Primo, Gallows and Anderson motioned towards Enzo for possibly the Bada Boom Shakalaka, their version of the rocket launcher. And instead of tagging Enzo, Gallows covered Primo, denying Enzo and the fans their favorite finish from Cass and Enzo. Rick, I think this is possibly what we could see coming up at Survivor Series for that tag team elimination match.
You know what? It's possible. I mean, it's definitely trying to antagonize the feud, and Survivor Series, unfortunately, kind of put a block on that road. Now, I've never really been a fan of Survivor Series. Out of the big four, I'd consider that on the bottom of the list. Even other pay-per-views, such as Money in the Bank, which I like, Hell in a Cell, all these are higher up. Survivor Series, to me, is just going to be just another show to watch.
The main event segment this week was the Survivor Series Summit between the commissioners and the GMs of both shows, which turned into a confrontation between the Raw and SmackDown Live Men's Survivor Series teams. And yes, even James freaking Ellsworth got an appearance on a Monday Night Raw. Now, having these two teams clash at the end of Raw the way they did helped them to build towards their match because, let's be honest, there hasn't been much of a build for Survivor Series, and it's going to be a 6-hour show like SummerSlam was.
Are you fucking kidding me? What?
It was reported that it's going to be a 2-hour kickoff.
Which means they're probably going to be doing... I know that this is kind of over on SmackDown. That tells me that Ziggler's not necessarily out of the picture just yet. But,
go ahead.
Yeah, but 6 hours for a shitty show, 4 hours for the main show, not worth it at all. And never mind the post show, because I don't think anybody watches a post show.
Not even me. But with this being the Raw Go Home show for the Survivor Series, it only makes sense to make the Raw team look strong heading into the pay-per-view this Sunday. Overall score on Raw this week gets a 3 out of 5, with best segment of the night going to the Goldberg-Lesnar confrontation, because it was the most interesting segment to me, with worst match of the night going to Kendrick versus Sin Cara, because it just looked like they went out there and laid an egg. Rick, over to you, your overall score and your picks for best and worst match or segment of Monday Night Raw this week.
Well, I can't give it a 3. I'd have to give it maybe almost I'll say 1.75, because the majority of the show is not shit. Even the Cruiserweights. Now, I have been nothing but a fan of Cruiserweights. I've never had one bad thing to say until I saw that match, and that was the worst match of the night. Now, the second segment that I could not stand was a Goldberg, Lesnar face-off. They were pushing it, and nothing really happened. Now, the main thing when they did the Raw SmackDown Summit, to me, that was the spot of the night, because Chris Jericho looks over at Ellsworth and goes, "What the hell is that?" And of course he does the list, and I have been marking out every time he does the list, because it's funny as hell. So for me, and they did the obvious. They had the big fight where the Raw team looked strong on Raw. So that's pretty much it.
Well, you pretty much got a point there, Rick. Well, anyway, guys and gals, that's been our thoughts on Monday Night Raw this week. We want to know from you guys out there, the viewers and subscribers, your thoughts on Monday Night Raw. What are your overall scores? What are your picks for best and worst match or segment of Monday Night Raw this week? Definitely want to hear what you guys out there have to say. Be sure you put your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to slam that like button like a champ. Rick, where can fans check you out on HWR?
Well, right now we do have a YouTube page, which is youtube.com/HWR show. Right now, our podcast seems to be incognito. We're kind of, doing some redesigning, but right now, though, we're always, having a conversation. We're over on Facebook. We're in a group sections. We want people to come on, say what you want, how you want to say about wrestling. We're not one of these, shitty groups that has 50,000 rules. You got something to say about wrestling, fucking say it. We don't give a shit.
And don't forget, this Thursday night at 9 p.m. Central Time, right here on WGS-TV with Sports Entertainment Tonight, me, Nick Fuquay, and Mark Trahan, we're going to break down both NXT TakeOver Toronto and Survivor Series. So if you guys want to tune in and actually get your predictions on the air, be sure you tune in right here to youtube.com/WrestleGamer. Again, that's this Thursday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, right here on WGS-TV. Also, guys, don't be a curtain jerk if you want to see more of your old pal, the Russell Gamer, when he gets his camera found and back on here. But with more wrestling talk with awesome gameplays, you know the way to do it. You got to hit that subscribe button down below. So with that being said, for the host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, Rick Head, I am your friendly neighborhood Russell Gamer, and I'll see you at the next Warp Zone. Bye, guys.